over the years I've used a few different types of dado stacks, and I'll explain what I think are redeeming features of any one of them. Prior to carbide tipped, this would be a typical dado stack, and what you'll see here is actually a sort of Japanese pattern grind here, and you'll see that they're an alternating bevel. There's also a hollow grind plate and a raised area here, and there's a raker. So these are knives scoring the fiber, and that raker knocks it out. Extremely clean cutting, but because it's high-speed steel, you would never run it in plywood. I use that one on my shaver. Here's the rakers for that one, and you'll see that they are extremely aggressive in nature. In other words, let me show you a typical configuration, and look at the difference in rake angle there. That angle to which the tooth attacks the wood, super high on the high-speed steel. Cuts the cleanest tear-free bottom of all my cutters. Okay, this is a Dimar, whatever you want to call it. This is a negative rake. The tooth angle is actually tilting back, and this has alternating top teeth. I believe there are 4 rakers. On the negative rake, they don't seem to put the angle as steep. Now, new models of that, you can get these in a number of teeth. This one's 46. It was designed to cut extremely well in melamine. I found, you can see, I don't use this one anymore. Okay, modern ones now have the raker tooth that is in the chip limiting design, but also the tooth is a negative rake and is 4. I've never really had any problems with bottom finish. I always found that that was the result of my saw doctor. Of the cleanest cutting dado stacks I have, I would have to say that they are a 2-knife cutter head with knickers. These are pretty aggressive, positive rake, cuts clean as a whistle. There is some chip limiting happening here. As you can see, the nose of that is your depth of cut. And you can see I've got this one set to a very fine limiting. Okay? These are generally outlawed, but they do cut the cleanest of all my dado stacks. Once again, these are high-speed steel, would do terrible in plywood. So as I said, I originally bought this based on the marketing that I was told this is better. And I imagine having more teeth, having a more rigid plate, having a good grind did a lot to make this cut better. But what I found is it dulled quicker because the negative rake generated heat. Now, this is the same company with a positive tooth and a limiting lead, not behind, in front. You might think that it works with that tooth, but this one works with that tooth. A much higher severe angle on the positive. And I'm not sure if that has to do with the back clearances, that these little tips might heat up if they're in a negative rake, and they don't seem to grind those as sharp. But I can assure you, just like these are razor sharp, the knickers these having the highest angle, and the knife cutting spur on these discs, which is the negative rake, not being as severe. I'm not sure what the bevel angle is, but it's not a lot. I also find these have a little more resistance in pushing, and even though it doesn't have any chip limiting, although I see they're adding that now, that makes a big difference. Now, so you can kind of see, I don't think negative rake has much to do with cleanliness as much as it does with climb cutting applications. And what I mean is, if these dado stacks go into a radial arm saw, that negative rake feature would be useful. Now, this is a 16-inch dado stack for the radial arm saw, and you'll see that all they've really done is take plane plates, and this is a professional FS tool, and they actually remove one of the teeth. Just on opposite sides, you'll see a tooth has been removed, and that's where your chipper goes. Positive rake, you can see that in this modern design with the two big gullets. That's how they've dealt with putting your chipper in high tooth count blades. Okay, so what one is important? What one makes the most difference? Well, if you're cutting a lot of aggressive material like melamine particle board and stuff like that, I would have less of a positive tooth. But if you're using your dado to cut joints, you know, I don't know what you'd be doing in plywood other than carcasses, which that joint's probably not that important. But if you're doing tenons, you know, visual joints, it's my opinion that the positive rake configuration with the limiter and the high rake angle and high alternate, this isn't alternate, the high bevel cuts cleaner, cuts longer, okay? And you know, that's what I think. I can tell you this is the one I use in that location. And it is what has drawn me to use these type, which have severe nickers. It is the nicker that cuts the clean. The negative rake has rakers, but as I said, they aren't as sharp. And I believe what the idea is, other than it not climbing, is that the side of the tooth scrapes. There's lots of side clearance on these carbides, yet you'll find on the negative rake one it's a lot less. In fact, in some cases on mine there's even a hollow grind. And let me show you in another blade. Well, let's see. I don't have one readily available. But anyway, that's what I'm basing my experience on. I believe Royce was originally Galt, and here is Galt dado stack 14-inch for the radial arm saw. Once again, nothing special about the bigger ones. In fact, you have less choices because I don't know how many people are running big ass, but you can see they have just glued on a spacer to give them the clearance for their chippers. Okay. These ones here, these ones here don't cut as clean as this one, which is a pretty severe positive rake and wickedly high top bevel, which gives a scoring line. Of this whole blade, there's only 4 rakers. Also, this tooth count is great for solid wood. This tooth count would be good for man-made materials. It actually will wear longer in those. Interestingly, the box that it came in says the negative rake is a heavy duty. It's a negative rake angle exceptional finish. That's what it says. Okay, the one that I like, it says it's designed for user safety in mind, will prevent kickback and gives operational control. And I can tell you, control has a lot to do with finish. By eliminating climbing, small chip removal will result in finer finish. This is Damar. They sell both types. It appears their latest model now has this and this combined with an extra chipper, and the chipper's in negative. So I can't say that any one of those things is the result of a finer finish. Obviously, sharpness has to play the biggest role, but longevity, the type of materials you're using, dictate what type of dado blade you're going to use. So I would use this one in plywoods, melamines, and you know, pre-finished plywoods. But it has to be sharpened regularly, more often than my other one. This is the one I use more, including in plywood. I would not use it in melamine, though. I would use it in plywood. So that is, my experience is just based on what I've used. I don't know what's new out there. I'm only telling you what I've learned.